Hi there, it's Jen from scribblinggrace.com. Today I'm going to do a Bible Journal with Me video, but first I wanted to show you this Bible that I'm working on. This is brand new. It's the Illustrating Bible by Illustrated Faith and Dayspring. It's super one of a kind, you guys, and it's specifically made with Bible journalers in mind. So I thought I would go ahead and show this to you guys. Show you what I think about it, the good and the bad, mostly good. So first things first, you can see that it's square and it's spiral bound. So this is huge, and the spiral bound binding is really huge because I know so many Bible journalers, especially those who do scrapbook style pages, like my first Bible here where I have all these tabs, the Bible really expands a ton. And you kind of run out of space. So the benefit of the spiral bound is that as you add in other papers, tip-ins, tabs, things like that, that the Bible will grow along with it. So it adds extra space basically, which is really nice. And that's something that I know a lot of Bible journalers have been wanting, is a spiral bound Bible. So that's super cool. And then the other main thing about this Bible is the wider margins. So these margins are almost 4 inches, which is super cool. So it's nice because it's not quite like an interleaved Bible that has the full blank pages, and it's not as small as a normal journaling Bible that only has 2-inch margins. So it's great because it gives you extra space to work in, to paint on, and things like that. What else can I say about this Bible? It has a rose gold cover, which I think is really pretty. You can't really paint it, which is one of those things. I love to paint my Bibles, you know, so, but it is really pretty. And then it has this teal backing on the inside cover. It's the Christian Standard Bible, so it's a CSB version. And it's overall really cool. Oh, and the pages are super duper thick. So normal journaling Bibles have thicker pages than an actual Bible, like a normal Bible. But this Bible has even thicker pages than any of my journaling Bibles. So if you've seen my video on choosing a journaling Bible, I talk all about the thickness of pages and things. And this one has pages that are almost as thick as a normal piece of paper, or probably are as thick as a normal piece of paper, which I think is super cool. It holds up really well to all kinds of mediums, and the quality of the paper is just really nice, really smooth, and it's stark white, which was a huge thing for, I know a lot of people in the Bible journaling community, because most journaling Bibles like this one have cream pages. So you can see there's a slight difference between the cream on my ESV, and then this one has the actual stark white. So if you're using a lot of printables, stickers and things like that, it looks really good on the stark white paper. So those are the main things that I really love about this Bible. I'm kind of a love-hate with the spiral bound. I kind of like to just be able to close my Bible and go, and it takes me a little bit more effort to close it. And I also worry that my page will rip out if I tug on a piece on accident or something. So I worry about that. But so far, so good. I think that it's also really huge, which is a good thing and a bad thing. So if you can see here I have another ESV Bible here. These are the ones I sell in my shop, so you can see the size is just pretty bonkers. It's huge. And it's also super wide as well. But not that that's necessarily a bad thing. It's just a very big Bible. So it's a little bit harder to travel around with if you take your Bible lots of places with you. I usually just leave my Bibles here at home, so it's not that big of a deal for me, the size-wise. And the other thing that I like, but I'm also not thrilled about, is that on each of the first page of each chapter, they have, here we go, they have the name of the chapter written in the margin here. And it looks pretty, but it also takes up working space. So I'm going to show you today how I created my first page in this Bible, which is this one here. And I had this big grand plan on doing this big galaxy for this page. And then I opened it and I saw this big Genesis running down the front of the page that I wanted to work on, and that was kind of a bummer. But you could also always just paint over it. So it's not that big of a deal, and the lettering is really pretty. So if you aren't really wanting to cover the whole page, or you could just do something like I did down here where it's just partial, I think that this Bible overall is a huge success, and I'm super excited about it. The price point is almost $100, so it is pretty pricey. That's another downfall to me. It's a little bit up there, but it is really high quality, and I could see why they priced it so high. All right, and I also tested out some of my favorite supplies, my go-to supplies, other than the Pentel Touch one. I don't ever use that, but I thought it would be a fun one to test with this thicker paper. So my Tombow Funosuke brush pen, the one I use 90% of my Bible pages. I got a Pentel Touch pen. These I very rarely use in my Bible because they bleed through, so you always have to prep your page first, but we'll see how it looks on the back side. A micron pen. These are great for notes, for just lettering. I use these all the time, and I use these in my study Bible a lot as well. I have a Uniball Signo gel pen. Gel pens never bleed through, but I thought I would just go ahead and test it out anyways. These are my favorite gel pens. And then I also have my Gansai Tambi watercolors, my Apple Barrel acrylic paints, like these, and a stamp here. I don't use that many stamps, but I do have my little Illustrated Faith stamp set here. So I just stamped my little logo as well with the pigment ink. I don't recommend using any inks other than pigment inks unless you're going to prep your page. So there's so many other supplies you can use, but if you've been following me for a while, you know I mainly stick to my same few supplies, so I thought that I would just test these big ones out. Okay, so back side of the page, the Tombow, you can see the ghosting, which is just like in any other journaling Bible, but no bleed through at all. The Pentel Touch ones normally bleed through terribly, and this just has very slight bleed through, so I think that that's pretty impressive to the page thickness. The micron doesn't show through at all, no bleed through. The Uniball Signo is perfectly awesome. The Gansai Tambi, there's kind of weird spots which have never happened before, but I'll show you the backside of my Bible page that I'm going to show you how to do in just a second. And that one didn't bleed through at all, so I think that this was just probably a drawing issue on my part. The Apple Barrel acrylics never bleed through, and then the stamp didn't bleed through at all either, and you can it's just like really nice. I'm impressed with the stamp there. So that was pigment ink. So all in all, my supplies, super happy with how they hold up to the page. It's just like writing on a really nice normal piece of paper. So that's really exciting for us Bible journalers. All right, so all in all, I think this Bible is super cool. There's so many amazing features. And so now I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I did my first page in this Bible. I thought that I would start at the very beginning with Genesis 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And then I kind of decided, since I had the big Genesis words here, to also write out the other big concepts of Genesis 1. All right, let's go paint. All right, so to create this galaxy, I start by just putting a piece of paper, just printer paper underneath the page I'm working on. I got my water, and I got my Kiritake Gansai Tambi watercolor set. So this is the 36 color set, and I picked out 3 blue colors from the set. So if you have the 24 color set, these 3 colors I believe are in that one as well. And I will put the exact numbers of the colors that I'm using in the blog post that goes along with this video at scribblinggrace.com/illustrating Bible. And so I'm starting off by just painting on some water onto my page. I don't want to use too much water because, of course, these pages are pretty gentle, and if you have too much water, then it kind of pools. You can see my page is already like crinkling just a little bit, and so if you have too much water, it's going to pool in between those crinkles, and we don't want that. So we're going to try our best to prevent that here. And so I'm using a large size 12 brush, just one that I got from Michael's, I think, or Hobby Lobby. Nothing super fancy. I believe it was $4, and I'll put a link to something similar in that blog post again. All those supplies will be in the blog post, scribblinggrace.com/illustrating Bible. Shameless plug. All right, so I start off by just adding some swiggles of color. I start off with my lightest color, my lightest blue, and I'm literally just using the tip of my brush just to paint random swiggles. It looks a little strange at first, but you'll get a hang of it. I'm also trying to make sure that I have some white space, particularly in the center, but I also want a little bit of white area all throughout. So you can see me leaving some gaps here and there. And so I started off with my lightest color all around my area that I'm working in, and then I'm taking this darker color and painting the outsides, so it'll look a little bit lighter, like light colors in the center, and then it gets darker on the outside. That just kind of gives you a nice galaxy look. So then I'm going just back with some more paint color. This was that first blue again. So I'm mainly using these two blues, and then that third color I thought was a blue, but it's actually a purple. And it looks really pretty in the end. It kind of like blends with the blue to make this purpley blue. It's really cool. So anyways, so this is my first layer, and you can see that it got a little too dark for me. So I just took a paper towel and just dabbed it where I wanted to get rid of some of that color. That's the beauty of watercolor, is that it's so easy to fix if you make a mistake. You can just dab up the color. If you need to add more color, that's no problem. That's one reason why I love watercolors. So now you can see I'm adding in that purple just kind of in dots around the galaxy. I don't want too much purple because I want it to be mainly blue. But it does add this nice dark pigment to my painting here. So it's just a nice little touch. Of course, you could do this with just one color blue and just change the saturation up. So you'll get a lighter color if you add extra water, and you'll get a darker color if you add extra pigment. So hardly any water and just lots of pigment, and you'll get that nice dark rich color. And lots of water and hardly any pigment, you'll get a nice light watery color. So now I'm just drying my page with my heat gun. Sorry for the wobble there. And this is just an embossing heat gun. Again, I'll put that link in that blog post. And I just helps it to dry really quickly. So that's my first layer. One of the fun things about watercolor is that it's really easy to work in layers, and it's actually recommended to work in layers. So it's one of my little tips. If you've ever seen my blog post on 3 watercolor tips, this is one of them. It's to work in layers. So if you don't like things right away, just try adding another layer on top. And so this is just adding extra dimension as well. So this time I'm just going around on those outside areas. Just again, I don't have any special technique for how I'm placing the color on here. I'm just dabbing it on with my paintbrush. I'm not worrying too much about the amount of water that I'm using, and I'm not worrying too much about where I'm putting it. I'm just trying to keep a little bit of that white in the center and a little bit darker on the outside. But again, there's no real rhyme or reason to this. And I love these galaxies because A, they're so hip right now, but they're also really easy to do if you think about it. It may look a little strange at first, but as long as you get a bunch of watercolor on there and just dab it on, then you add your stars, and the stars make it, boom, it's a galaxy. So now, while my watercolor is still wet, I'm going to sprinkle on some salt. This is a really common technique for watercolor, and you've probably heard of it. It's just the salt technique. You just sprinkle it on, and it creates a really cool effect in your watercolor, and you have to do it while it's still wet and like after you put all of your layers on, because if you go and you paint over the salt, then you lose the effect. So just make sure you're pretty much done with your painting, but you still have all of that water. It's still a very wet page. So I let my page dry with the salt on it, and then I just go and I rub it off and I erase it off. You can use your finger to rub it off, or you could use an eraser like I am. It's not like just get the salt off. It can get a little stuck, so it's a little bit hard to get off sometimes. It took me a while to get all the salt off, but it does create a really cool effect. But it also is not necessary. So if you don't feel like doing the salt technique, because it can get a little messy as well, or you don't have salt laying around, I don't know. You definitely don't need to add the salt. It'll still be a really cool galaxy without it, but I just thought I would show you an extra little technique here. So now I have all my salt off. I'm going to go ahead and add my stars. So to add my stars, I'm taking some acrylic paint. I just use Apple Barrel acrylic paint from Walmart. It's super cheap. I keep it on me at all times. And so I just add a little bit onto my paper plate here that I use as my palette. And I'm using a flat brush with pretty stiff bristles. So this isn't wet or anything. They're pretty stiff bristles. And I basically just dip the brush in and use my finger to flick it onto the page. You kind of have to let go of perfectionism here because your dots aren't going to go exactly where you want them to. You may get more splatters rather than stars. But if you keep your brush fairly far away from the page, you'll get the nice small little stars here. And then I'm going to go ahead and use this Uniball Signo gel pen. This is a bold tip Uniball Signo. They also have a regular tip. Either one works, and I'll put the links again in that blog post at scribblinggrace.com/illustratingbible. And I'm just adding in some extra stars, just some bigger stars rather than the splatters. And so I just kind of focus them mostly on that white area in the middle, and then try to add a few less stars on the outside. But this really doesn't matter too much as long as you get stars on there. You can see it's already looking so much more like a galaxy. And so now I'm going to go ahead and add some trees. I specifically wanted to do this because I wanted it to look like you're on Earth looking up at the sky, since Genesis 1 says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. And so I really wanted to focus on both of those, so you can see the heavens in the background, sort of. That's my version of the heavens, maybe. And then earth in the foreground. So to do these trees, super duper simple. I just took the tip of my brush and drew straight up lines of different heights. And then I just use that very tip of my brush, applying very little pressure, and I just draw squiggles back and forth, just getting wider and wider as I go down to the bottom. You may need to practice this a couple times, but as long as you get them close enough together, the trees close enough together, they'll kind of blend together, and they obviously look like trees, which is really fun. I'm using a size 8 paintbrush here. This is a cheapo little paintbrush that I got in a pack of 12 at Walmart or something for like $2. So I don't have a link for that paintbrush, but any small paintbrush works for that. And that's it for my galaxy. I just dry it really quick, and I originally had planned on doing this galaxy really big and taking up the whole page, but of course that big Genesis is right there in the middle. Which I like and I don't like. I just had to change up my plan a little bit, and so I had a kind of a hard time figuring out how to work around that Genesis and still do my notes and stuff. And so I just decided to write out all of the main key verses that stuck out to me in Genesis 1. And so I start off by just lettering it with a pencil, and then I'm going to go ahead and just use my Tombow Food Nosuke brush pen and go over that using a couple different lettering styles. And so I'm not going to get too much into the lettering in this video because I don't want it to get too crazy long. It's already a little bit longer than most of my videos here. But I have a bunch of lettering tutorials on brush pen calligraphy and 10 different hand lettering styles that you could do something similar like what I'm doing using multiple lettering styles. And so I'll put all of those links again in that blog post. I'll link the blog post below. Or you could just go to scribblinggrace.com/illustratingbible. Sorry for all the promo here. And then to just finish off my page and help differentiate the verses that I lettered here, I went with some colored Uniball Signo gel pens, just on the sides of all of my letters here, on all the downstrokes. So I used a pink, a orange, and a yellow interchangeably around my page. And again, I'll put those links, everything you need in that blog post. All right, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Let me know what you think in the comments below as well, and what you think about this illustrating Bible. It's so cool. So here's the back side of my page. You can see there's no bleed through at all. These pages held up so well. So that's definitely my favorite thing about this Bible, is that the page thickness is so great. All right, hope you have a wonderful day. God bless.